Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Mr. President, come on out.
President Donald Trump has said the US will be Iran's worst nightmare if it doesn't agree to a peace plan and repeats that Tehran is begging for a deal. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff confirmed the US had sent a 15-point peace plan to Iran, but does not provide any further details. Iran's foreign minister has said his country is not negotiating with the US, but Iran has nonetheless responded to Trump's 15 points with its own demands broadcast on Iranian TV. It comes after Israel says it killed Ali Reza Tangsiri, the Iranian Navy chief overseeing the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's busiest oil shipping channels. Former Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores are facing a New York court after being charged with narco-terrorism and weapons offences. Maduro's lawyer argued his client has the right to use money from the Venezuelan government to pay for his defence after the US blocked him from accessing the cash. Outside the courthouse, police have separated pro- and anti-Maduro protesters as chanting grows louder. Maduro and Flores were seized by US forces from his compound in Caracas in a dramatic nighttime raid in January. The pair were transported to New York, where they have been in custody ever since. Maduro and Flores have pleaded not guilty, and in their prior court appearances have told the judge they have been kidnapped. A jury in LA has delivered a damning verdict for two of the world's most popular digital platforms, Instagram and YouTube. It ruled those apps are addictive and deliberately engineered that way, and that its owners have been negligent in their safeguarding of the children who have used them. The tech giants in this case, Meta and Google, must now pay $6 million in damages to a young woman known as Kaylee, the victim at the centre of this case. She claims the platforms left her with body dysmorphia, depression and suicidal thoughts. US President Donald Trump says he will meet Chinese President Xi Jinping in China on the 14th to the 15th of May, after delaying the landmark trip amid the US-Israel war with Iran. This would be the first visit to China by a US president in nearly 10 years. Trump is also set to host Xi in Washington, D.C. later this year. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed the dates of Trump's visit, telling reporters that President Xi had understood and accepted the request to postpone the trip.
This resilience proves that transatlantic trade works, and if it works, we should strengthen it, not hold it back.
The European Parliament has backed legislation to implement an EU-US trade deal following months of uncertainty over Donald Trump's tariff threats. A majority of lawmakers voted in favour of the measures, but added a series of safeguards to ensure the US honours its side of the deal struck last July. The legislation would set tariffs at 15% for most EU goods, down from the 30% initially threatened, in exchange for European investment in the US, and the removal of EU import duties on US industrial goods. The vote comes after months of delay following Trump's threats to annex Greenland and a US Supreme Court ruling that found some of his tariffs were unlawful.
Hello, bonjour.
The CEO of Air Canada has apologised after he was criticised for not speaking French in a condolence video message he released after a collision at LaGuardia airports that killed two pilots.
Provide information on an accident that occurred involving an Air Canada Express aircraft.
In a statement, Michael Rousseau said he was deeply saddened that his inability to speak French diverted attention from the pilots' grieving families and Air Canada staff. In a written statement released in both English and French, Rousseau admitted that his French remains weak, despite many lessons over several years. There have been calls for him to resign, while Canada's Prime Minister said his English-only message showed a lack of compassion. And First Lady Melania Trump has arrived alongside a humanoid robot at a tech summit in Washington, D.C. The First Lady is hosting the Fostering the Future Together Summit, aimed at expanding access to educational tools and protecting children in digital environments. Trump, France's First Lady Brigitte Macron, and leaders from more than 40 other countries were joined by a humanoid robot named Figure 3, developed by the AI robotics company Figure.
Thank you, First Lady Melania Trump, for inviting me to the White House.
The robot takes care of household tasks like laundry, cleaning, and doing dishes, all autonomously, according to the firm's website. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.